Deep in the African wilderness, where modern civilization has never set foot, an ancient tribe still hunts with the same methods their ancestors perfected 10,000 years ago. On one unforgettable morning, everything changed when they came face to face with an apex predator that most humans will never experience alive. This is not a story of escape. This is a story of survival against all odds. The Hadzabe people are among the last remaining hunter-gatherers on Earth, living in the remote regions of northern Tanzania. For over 12,000 years, they have inhabited the same valleys and grasslands untouched by the modern world. Their language contains over 100 different click sounds, a linguistic system so unique that no other known civilization has ever replicated it. These sounds were not invented for convenience, but out of necessity to communicate silently while hunting across vast savannas. The Hadzabe have no written language, no stored history books, and no records in any archive. Everything they know has been passed down through oral tradition, keeper by keeper, generation after generation. Today, fewer than 1,200 Hadzabe people remain on Earth. In just 2 generations, an entire way of life could vanish completely. But their skills, their knowledge, and their profound connection to the natural world remain unmatched. These are the master hunters of Africa, and this is the day everything tested their mastery. The morning began like any other during the dry season when hunting pressure is at its highest. A small group of Hadzabe hunters set out before dawn, equipped with only their handcrafted bows, arrows tipped with toxic plant compounds, and the accumulated wisdom of countless hunts. They moved in near-complete silence through the tall grass, reading the land like an ancient text. Every broken twig spoke to them, every animal call carried meaning, every shift in wind direction told them where prey had moved. This communication with the environment is something that takes an entire lifetime to master. The hunters were tracking giraffe, one of the most valuable sources of food and materials for their community. A single giraffe could sustain dozens of people for weeks and provide bones for tools, hide for clothing, and tendons for bows. The stakes of their hunt were never small, because survival itself depends on success. As they moved deeper into the acacia woodland, the air seemed to shift, becoming heavier and more tense. One of the eldest hunters, a man whose name translates to "he who reads the wind," suddenly stopped dead in his tracks. His body became rigid, and his eyes scanned the tall grass with an intensity that few modern humans could ever understand. What he who reads the wind saw was barely visible but unmistakable to his trained eye. A shape, massive and golden, partially concealed in the golden grass just 70 meters away. It was a lion, not just any lion, but a fully grown male in his prime, with a mane that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The lion was downwind, which meant the hunter's scent had not yet reached him. The lion was also hungry, a fact evident from the rippling of his muscles beneath his skin and the deliberate way he watched the grasslands around him. In that frozen moment, both predator and hunter became acutely aware that they shared the same hunting ground. The Hadzabe faced an impossible choice. They could attempt to retreat, but movement would certainly attract the lion's attention, and running from a 500-pound apex predator across open grassland is not a recipe for survival. They could attempt to stand their ground, which went against every modern person's instinct for self-preservation. Or they could do something almost unthinkable. Without a single spoken word, the hunters communicated through subtle hand signals, a system perfected through centuries of silent collaboration. He who reads the wind made a decision that would reveal the extraordinary courage and knowledge that defines the Hadzabe people. The hunters began to move sideways, creating an angled path that would neither approach nor flee from the lion, but instead move perpendicular to his line of sight. They moved with a controlled, almost meditative pace that conveyed no fear and no prey-like panic. Every footstep was deliberate, every breath controlled, every motion aligned with the natural rhythms of the savanna. What they were doing was essentially communicating to the lion that they were not prey and they were not a threat. In the animal kingdom, prey animals flee and threats attack. The Hadzabe were doing neither, and this sophisticated understanding of predator psychology was likely saving their lives in real time. The lion's head rose slowly, his eyes following the hunter's movement with predatory intensity. The tension in that moment was almost unbearable, a space where life and death seemed to hang in perfect balance. One hunter reached for an arrow, not to attack, but simply to be prepared for the worst possible outcome. Time seemed to move in strange ways, minutes feeling like hours, seconds feeling like lifetimes. The lion watched, studied, analyzed the humans before him with an intelligence that most people never associate with wild animals. After what felt like an eternity, the lion's posture shifted almost imperceptibly. His muscular frame relaxed, and he turned his enormous head back toward the grasslands. With a movement that was surprisingly graceful for such a massive creature, the lion rose to his feet and began to walk away from the hunters. He did not run, did not seem afraid, but simply decided that these particular humans were not worth his energy or attention. The hunters continued their sideways movement until they reached a safer distance, finally allowing themselves to breathe fully once again. What modern people often fail to understand is that lion attacks on humans are extraordinarily rare, despite what popular media suggests. A lion attacks a human being perhaps once every few million human interactions across Africa. This is because lions, like most wild animals, are not mindlessly aggressive creatures, but rather efficient predators who make calculated decisions about energy expenditure. Humans were never part of a lion's ancestral diet, and lions possess an intelligence that allows them to distinguish between potential prey and unpredictable threats. The Hadzabe have coexisted with lions for over 12,000 years without developing any particular tradition of lion hunting or conflict. This speaks to a depth of mutual understanding that exists between the tribe and the predators of their land. The toxic compounds that the Hadzabe use on their arrows are derived from a beetle larva found only in this specific region of Tanzania. These poisons are so potent that a single arrow can take down an animal 10 times the size of a human. Yet the Hadzabe people use these weapons with a restraint and respect that is almost ceremonial in nature. Every hunt is treated as a transaction with nature, not as a conquest. The Hadzabe language, with its distinctive click consonants, was likely developed as a means of communication during hunting. Modern linguistic research has shown that the Hadzabe languages require different neural pathways in the brain than traditional spoken languages. This suggests that the Hadzabe people, through countless generations of click-based communication, may have literally evolved different brain structures optimized for this unique form of speech. The lion that the hunters encountered that day is living in a world that is rapidly disappearing. Once, lions roamed across the entire African continent, but today they inhabit less than 8% of their historical range. In just 100 years, lion populations have declined by over 94%, a catastrophic loss that few people in the developed world are even aware of. The Hadzabe are not merely witnessing the decline of these magnificent creatures, they are experiencing the collapse of the ecosystem that has defined their existence for 12 millennia. Despite their incredibly advanced survival skills, the Hadzabe face an uncertain future. National conservation efforts, while well-intentioned, have sometimes pushed the tribe off their ancestral hunting lands in the name of wildlife protection. The irony is deeply painful that the people who coexisted with these animals for 12,000 years are now being separated from them to preserve them.
The Hadzabe have never experienced a population collapse, an extinction, or an ecosystem collapse because they operate on a principle of sustainable harvesting that modern conservation science is only now beginning to understand. When the Hadzabe hunters killed the giraffe they were tracking that morning, every single part would be utilized. Nothing would be wasted. Not the hide, not the bones, not the sinew, not even the contents of the stomach. This is a form of total resource integration that allowed them to thrive in an unforgiving landscape for more than 12,000 years.
That morning encounter between the Hadzabe hunters and the African lion was not documented in any newspaper, was not recorded by any camera, and will never appear in any official historical record. Yet it represents something profound about human existence and our relationship with the natural world. The hunters did not boast about their encounter, they did not film it for social media, and they did not use it to elevate their status in any way. They simply acknowledged that they had shared the savannas with a powerful predator, that they had respected each other's space, and that both would continue living in their shared world. This is a wisdom that our modern civilization desperately needs, but has almost completely lost. We have become so disconnected from the natural world that we see animals either as threats to be eliminated or as entertainment to be preserved behind glass. The Hadzabe understand a third option, a way of existing within the natural world rather than above it or against it. Their survival for 12,000 years in one of Earth's most challenging environments was not achieved through dominance, but through harmony. It was not achieved through technology, but through intimate knowledge. It was not achieved through conquering nature, but becoming part of it. As we stand at a precipice where countless species face extinction and ecosystems collapse under the weight of human activity, the Hadzabe represent something we have largely forgotten how to be. They are not relics of the past, as many outsiders mistake them for. They are living examples of a sustainable future, proof that humans can exist on this planet without diminishing it. That lion that crossed the hunter's path that morning is a messenger from a world that is rapidly disappearing. He carries with him the memory of a time when vast herds moved across endless grasslands, when apex predators ruled expanses of wilderness, when humans understood their place in the grand ecosystem rather than imagining themselves above it. The Hadzabe hunters understood what he was telling them without needing a single word to be spoken.
If hidden cultures and forgotten worlds fascinate you, if you find yourself drawn to stories of human resilience and ancient wisdom, then Mystic Travel is where these incredible journeys continue. Every week, we venture into the places that modern civilization has overlooked, the communities whose knowledge has been accumulating for thousands of years, the encounters that reshape how we understand what it means to be human. Subscribe to Mystic Travel so that you never miss the next chapter of these extraordinary stories.